I'd like to make a provocative claim. Sometimes your mind does things without you realizing it. And I don't mean unconsciously or subconsciously. I mean consciously. If you're like most people, you've had the following experience. You're reading a book, only to find that your eyes are scanning the page, but your mind is elsewhere. In an abrupt oh crap moment, you realize this and get back to reading. You were conscious during your reverie, but to quote a paper on the topic of mindless reading, you were not aware of the contents of your consciousness. So who cares? You care. In a paper from Harvard last year titled A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind, researchers found that people's mind wanderings caused unhappiness, but not vice versa. And this was true regardless of what they were doing, from making love to doing chores. But mind wandering also seems to be a great source of creativity and inspiration. So does that mean we have to choose between being happy and being creative? No, the solution to the conundrum lies in a quality called awareness. In the reading example, awareness is the thing that you did not have just before you noticed that you were wandering, and that you did have just after you noticed. In fact, you could say that awareness is noticing, keenly noticing what's going on in your field of experience right now. The following quote from a study on mindless reading describes the transition nicely. When one notices that they are mind-wandering while reading, there is often an abrupt experience of coming to. It is almost as if one has just awoken, even though one was not previously asleep. Who wants to be half asleep through life? Now, perhaps you've had the experience of dreaming at night and suddenly becoming aware that you're dreaming. For many people, this jolts them awake, but for others, it leads to an experience known as lucid dreaming, where they are fully aware inside the dream. This suggests an approach to daydreaming. At first, noticing that you are may interrupt the reverie, but as you gain practice in sustaining awareness, it should be possible for you to have your cake and eat it too. You can let your mind wander and catch any brilliant ideas as they appear, rather than letting them slip away. And indeed, this seems to be the case. People whose minds wander without awareness tend to have poor reading comprehension. People who wander with awareness tend not only to read better, but they also exhibit more creativity. So if this awareness thing can make us smarter, increase emotional well-being, and allow us not to sleepwalk through life, why haven't we all learned this skill? I think there are a few answers. The first is that it can be very hard to believe that we might be unaware as often as studies suggest. And we're not talking about splayed out on the couch drooling. I mean the possibly hundreds of times during your day when your brain gets a few seconds or minutes to drift. Walking to the bus stop, or from your vehicle to your home. Taking a restroom break during work. Waiting in line at the checkout. In between sentences during this video. You still with me? You see, your brain doesn't need much time to conjure up a ridiculous fantasy or replay an unfortunate memory, and it can clean up the evidence before you realize anything happened. All you're left with is a curiously altered mood, and over time, maybe even personality. People don't become bitter overnight, right? In the happiness study, participants seemed to wander for almost half of their waking hours. Only about 43% of these wanderings were about positive thoughts, and even these didn't boost the subject's mood. The other 57% of the times were neutral or negative, and these tended to make them much less happy. If the subjects didn't even notice that they were wandering, what hope could they possibly have of overcoming it? Related to that is a second reason. Because it's hard to recognize in ourselves individually, we haven't given it much thought as a society. In fact, science has only recently started to seriously investigate this phenomenon. This also means that we haven't yet developed much technology to train it. There's work underway to do so, but for now we have to rely on low-tech methods. The most common of these is known as meditation, but that word means different things to different people, and it seems to come with a lot of baggage. So although the topic of awareness is very intimately connected with meditation, I'll avoid using that term. The point is, awareness is very much trainable. So let's summarize what we've learned so far. First, our brains can do things consciously without us knowing that they are. For most people, they'll do this at any chance they get. Second, they don't always do so in a way that helps us. In fact, more often than not, they have a negative impact on our moods. Being more vigilant of our mind's activity means that we can decide not to let them lead us astray. And as an added benefit, being lucidly aware allows us to experience more vividly, unlike the unaware state, where we're kind of spaced out. Third, awareness is the faculty that alerts us that we've gone astray when trying to concentrate, so training it would be a clear way to improve one's ability to focus. Finally, I've claimed that it is a trainable skill, and in a later section, we'll see how to train it.